Today we're going to talk about a Sony camera, specifically the Sony HX-400V Cybershot, I believe that's what it's called. HX-400V, yes. Okay, so we're talking about this camera here, and if you've previously watched the basic introduction to Canon cameras, by using your knowledge from that, you might be able to figure out on your own how to work this camera. I do apologise, there's a bit of noise in the background, please try and ignore it. But if you watch that video first, that'll let you get to know a rough outlay of a camera. And by using that knowledge, you should be able to figure out how to use this camera fairly quickly. If not though, I'm going to go over it right now. So, let's get into it. So, this is a Sony camera. First of all, I have to apologise, you may see some black bits in my nails, it's just paint. So, this is a Sony camera. As you can see, the top bit looks quite similar to the Canons, and the back looks sort of identical, quite a few similarities. So, I'm going to start off with the absolute basics, turn it on and the use of the camera. I'll then go into the lens, because this lens is a bit different to the Canons. You cannot change this lens for a start, and it works a bit differently. So, to turn on, you've got an on-off switch right here. Press and hold, the lens will come out, and your screen will come on. You can also pop the screen out if you want, a little bit. That makes it a little bit easier for filming. So, on button is where the green switch is. Up here is your take a shot button, as you can hear. There's also a little dial here, but I'm going to get into that in a little minute once we talk about the lens. This button here is your function key, the button just to the left of your shoot button. This allows you to change your ISO, your focus areas, your auto white balance, stuff like that. Where normally on a Canon, your ISO button is up here. So for this camera, you need to press this function button to the left, and then you'll get a little menu. And in this little menu, you can scroll through your different little mini settings. This is a custom mode here, we're not going to worry about that at the moment. We're also not going to worry about this finder monitor button at the moment. You may find this quite familiar to the Canons. It is almost identical to the Canons, apart from there isn't as much presets on this Sony. The presets that we don't really use anyway. So I have it set on manual now. That means that I control the shutter speed and the aperture. S is shutter priority, and just like the Canons, it gives you a little paragraph detailing what you've just selected. So S is shutter priority, that means that you control the shutter speed and the camera works in the aperture. Aperture priority means that you control the aperture and the camera controls the shutter speed. Program mode is where the camera controls the shutter speed and the aperture. One thing that I also forgot to mention in the Canon video, which I really should have, is you scroll around till you get a little filming logo. That is to shoot some film, shoot some footage. And the bit that I forgot to mention was this button up here isn't the button that you use to start filming. This button here only takes a screenshot of what you're filming. To properly start filming, you press this red button up here. I'm going to press it and it's going to say unable to film due to no SD card inserted. But that is your button to start recording. I'm going to set it back to manual at the moment. And we're going to turn the camera around so you can see the body. So, this button here is to view your playback. Again, it's going to come up saying there's no data because an SD card isn't inserted, but this button here is to view your playback. This is to view your shots that you took or the footage that you took. This button here is quite a good little button. If I come back out of that, this changes your display settings, and it might be difficult to see, but you can see that there's a little histogram there. There's like a bubble meter, a measure meter just to make sure that you're centre, and you've got different little settings here. Good things to look at while you're taking your shots. Just the same as a Canon, this button here is your shoot mode if you're doing continuous shoot, single shoots, 3-second shoots, stuff like that. And if you press the right button, this is your flash settings. If you press down as well, you can also change the f-stop and the shutter speed. So this is your button to change between f-stop and shutter speed. To adjust the f-stop and shutter speed, you use this scroll up here. So that's where I find the Sony doesn't deliver as well as the Canons, because if you want to change your shutter speed, you need to do that. And then say that you want to change your f-stop on the fly, you have to press that button to then change the f-stop, change it back to shutter speed, adjust. So there's a little extra process there, you need to press an extra button there. Whereas with the Sony, you just need to press and hold a button and move. And it's quite handy with the Canons. It's quite handy because it's the way that you hold the camera, it's all up where your fingers would be. But in this, you need to go down here, press this button, adjust, press it again, adjust, which I find is a bit of a nuisance. This is your menu. This is where you can format your card, you can adjust, you can fine adjust your settings in the camera. And the last button to mention is your flash, which is up here. Hope you can see that, it's up there. So you just press that, your flash comes up. And just like the Canon, you lower it to turn it off. So finally, I just want to talk about the lens here, as this lens is quite different. There's only one scroll and you cannot adjust the lens. Alright, you have these little switches here. You've got AF, zoom, DMF or MF. Autofocus, digital, manual focus and manual focus. In autofocus, as you zoom, and when you press this button once, you'll hear a bleep. That's when it's focused. The camera will do the focusing for you, similar to the Canon. In digital manual focus, this is where this little notch comes in, because you can actually zoom with that as well. So you can use that as a zoom, and use this to use your focus. The difference is with the digital manual focus is if you decide, right, I want the camera to do the focus for me, you can still press this button and the camera will do the focus. If you want complete control, bring this down to manual focus. I'm trying to keep this in centre, the shot, I do apologise. Anyway, bring that down to manual focus and you have complete control. You control the zoom with this notch and you control the focus with this here. So hopefully this video has helped you out a little bit, and again, hopefully with this as well, you can see that most cameras have the same buttons, they're just in a different order, and you just need to figure out what order they are in. But most cameras work essentially the same. So, thank you very much for watching, and I hope you stay tuned for the next tutorial.